So God created all of these images of herself. You could call them little souls, little baby souls, right? Every one of them have masculine and feminine qualities. Not in even proportion though. Now at that stage, and by the way, at one stage in your pre-existence here on earth, you were in that state. Who of you remembers it? I don't either, by the way. So before my first incarnation and before your first incarnation, you did not remember that state. Because you don't do. You can't connect with that state now.
I had a vision of it in a meditation, and I never understood it till now.
Yeah. It's quite often spirits who are with you will give you meditation type experiences, explaining to you your pre-existence. Yeah?
If this is the pre-existence, is this also the existence between visits?
No.
Only the once.
It's only the once, the very first time. The very first time. The very first time, the reason why you don't have any consciousness of it is because you are yet to understand quite a number of things that God has created within you. The first thing is that you have no memories. Right? So there's no memories at that point. You are also not even conscious at that point of your own existence. Who of you were conscious of that point in your own existence? You're not, are you? So obviously we were never conscious at that point. So we had no consciousness. Of self. You follow me? We did not know who we were yet because we didn't even know we were alive yet. We had not yet experienced anything. Does that make sense to you? Yeah.
But not everybody's there at once, are they? Like,
and there was a time historically where billions and billions and billions, in fact, almost an infinite number of souls was in that state.
So does that mean there's still ones that haven't yet gone through their...
Yes, certainly. There are still ones in this area of the universe that have yet to actually have any experience or any consciousness of their own experience. When you get to the 21st, to the 22nd sphere of the spirit world, you'll actually see them. You can actually see them in this state.
You've seen them?
Yes.
And how many are there?
Still, there are. I can't count them. And by the way, you can count pretty well when you're in the 22nd sphere. So that there are billions and billions and billions of souls, and an infinite number of souls. And there is no one's really still aware of whether they are still being created or not, because they don't only populate Earth; they populate other planets prepared for the incarnation of man as well. So it's not just incarnation doesn't occur just here on Earth. There are other planets in the material universe that incarnation occurs onto, and all of these souls are there.
So is that like humans in this form going to other planets, or?
The soul is not in a human form for a start. However, the human form on each one of these worlds is identical in nature. But the soul itself is not human, in the sense that it's not a human form. It's not something you can physically see. You only begin to see it through your soul perception. Now, I'm going to say something else that's going to challenge you at that point. They have no free will at that point. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because they are not conscious of self. So if you're not conscious of self, how can you know what to choose? You can't, can you? Isn't choosing something dependent upon you being conscious that there is a choice?
But baby doesn't choose either, does he?
In what way? You mean choose to
Baby.
incarnate into a mother?
Well,
Or choose...
baby reacts.
No,
He
from
doesn't choose.
the moment of incarnation, you are making choices. And the incarnation doesn't occur just at birth, it occurs soon after conception. Right? So you're making choices from that moment.
From the soul.
At the soul level.
self.
Yeah, the soul level. The soul is absorbing emotions from that time of incarnation onwards, and we'll talk about why in a minute. So you can think of all of these as all these blank souls, right? You get that? The souls, they have personality, by the way, so they do have personality, and certainly have individuality, but they are not yet individualised. Do you understand the difference?
Where does all that fit in with the notion of there was never a beginning, it always ever was, and it always ever will be?
Yes, the notion that there was never a beginning came from, originally, from people who decided they could not understand God. And so what they had to do was they had to come up with some concepts that defined their own existence. And one of the concepts is this concept that the universe expands, contracts continuously, and as a result, all of these souls, or you yourselves, are all born, die as well as part of this process. And it comes from those kind of doctrines and teachings that were established tens of thousands of years ago. And we still have a lot of them today. And they are based around not understanding how God could exist.
So those souls there, that is the beginning of time for them.
For them. The instant that God has a desire is the instant that whatever God desires is created. So whenever she desires to have children, she creates children in that instance. Does that make sense? There is no delay in anything God does. None whatsoever. And you will find this throughout your existence.
And is there such a thing as them terminating the soul, the God?
It is not known, actually. Still not known whether the soul itself can actually die. It is known that certain types of souls that have received God's love into them can never die. So it is known that there is a way to obtain immortality, but if the souls do not connect with God, then it's not known whether they die or not. Does that make sense? Right now, in the spirit world, is one of the major discussions in the spirit world, is to whether the soul can actually die or not. So there's still a lot of things not known, right? Which you would expect with an infinite God, would you not? Yeah.